So we're running a little bit late. The purpose for this call is to give introduction of mind and why do we need to know what mind is, and why is it important for everyone here to understand what mind is. In order for us to help you, in order for you to have a better understanding how to change the results, it's critical to understand what mind is. And therefore, Abraham and I set up this call for everyone to go over illustration of what mind is and why it's important to understand it. Why is it important to know it? Why is it important to be aware of what you're thinking about? Abraham, you want to go and start?
Yes. Do we have on everyone we needed to have on?
I think so.
I'll let you know when. How's our connection look? We good?
So, as most of you guys know, the reason we're bringing this up because this has helped Abraham and I to have a better understanding of how to change our results and how to build better ourselves, or build the better results that we want. And to us, it's very important to pass down this information with the individual that we work with, because this is a starting point for you to understand that everything starts in mind. And you have to understand what mind is and understand that when we're talking about mind, what is it and why do we think the way we're thinking, why we have this certain habitual way of thinking, and how understanding what mind is, how it's going to affect you and how it's going to affect the results. That's why we set up this call. And this is just the beginning to work with you individually to help you to reach your goal. In order for you to reach your goal, you got to know what is it that you want. You have to set a goal. In order to set a goal and know what is it that you want, you need to understand how you work and how you operate. And that goes back to the mind. I'll let Abraham start going over the introduction of the mind.
Zach, are you recording? Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about the paradigms first, and then we're going to go on the intro to the mind. No more effort or energy is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity than it is required to accept misery and poverty. The difference between the two lines in your level of awareness. So it's the difference between the two lies in your level of awareness. So to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. The information that I'm about to share with you is extremely powerful. It could set you free from the constraints that keeps you from realizing your full potential and all of the good that you desire. However, you cannot be free until you know exactly what governs, shapes, directs your behavior, and ultimately your results. I'm going to read that again. However, you cannot be free until you know exactly what governs, shapes, and directs your behavior, and ultimately your results. And we're going to go into that part because what's governing your behavior and directs your results is going to be mindset. The way you think, that delivers results. When we talk about paradigms here, paradigms are mental programs that have almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior. They are the operating system of which your mental processes run. So a paradigm are mental programs that have almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior, and almost all behavior is habitual. So when you get up in the morning till you go to bed at night, it's a habit. And the habit is produced by behaviors. The behavior is produced by your belief systems, the way you're programmed, which means the way you were brought up, the environment you were in, the people that surrounded you, the way they raised you, where they lived. So all of that creates a root cause, which is in your subconscious mind. Your paradigms create the prism which you view and make sense of the world around you. When information is presented to your mind runs through all of the things it already knows about that piece of information. It figures out where it fits in with the bigger picture and decides if the information is good or bad, desirable or undesirable, possible or not possible. Paradigms in and of themselves are natural. If your paradigms are positive, you will have a happy, growth-oriented life, a healthy self-image, and the ability to adapt successfully to change, upsets, and unforeseen events. Conversely, negative paradigms can keep you stuck in old ways of thinking that can be very limiting. They keep you as imprisoned as do a cell and a set of iron bars, maybe even more so since that they imprison you in a place where all true freedom resides, the mind. Understanding precedes change. To achieve true freedom, you must understand how the mind works. Since no one knows what the mind looks like, we must use our imagination to come up with an image to work with. So when we're understanding this mind and that the mind is, it's all powerful, all-knowing, all-present, and it has the ability to go wherever it wants to go. The mind has no limits. But the beliefs inside of our mind have limits. That's why every time you have a vision, or you may have a dream, or you may fantasize, you can think, oh, what if? That was the mind saying anything is possible. Your beliefs pull that back. Your beliefs are the ones that say, no, wait a minute, I'm not too sure. I don't know if you could do that. But you don't even ask yourself if that's possible or not. Normally, your subconscious mind will tell you without you even knowing. Your subconscious mind will come in and just say, nope, that's not for you. Or nope, we can't do that. And it decides before you even decide, before you may even play with an idea.
So when he's talking about your subconscious mind does that, meaning that you do it as you doing it without knowing it. So just think about the thoughts process that you have about certain object. If you're thinking about something is not possible, you're right. It's not possible. If you're thinking something is possible, it is possible. You're right. So we're always thinking according to the way we're conditioned to think, which our habitual way of thinking, and our conditional way of thinking is been through we have been conditioned through our environment, through our surrounding, and the people that we hang out with, the people that we were influenced by, our parents, our teachers, people that we surround ourselves through life.
Chances are we've looked up to those people as well.
Yeah. And so it's important the good news here is important to know that when you understand what the mind is and how you're conditioned, you have the ability to change that however you want.
When you begin to understand it. Yeah. That's an important part.
And that goes back to your free will. You have the key is to starting point is understanding the mind. The way I'm programmed, the limitation that is imposed on me, that's why I think that way I think. And now, when I understand that, I'm going to start working to change the way I'm thinking.
Now, when we were talking about the mind, since we don't have an image of the mind, we need a picture. And if you guys have never seen what the mind looks like, we'd have no image. We think in images, so we need an image. So the very first thing, whenever we talk about the mind, the average individual is going to think the brain. Or the brain is not the mind. The brain is an electronic switching station. It's the motor that runs the body. Your mind thinks, and it sends signals to the brain. The brain sends them out to the cells of every cell of the body and every part of the hand. We don't say, am hand. We say, I have a hand. We don't say am foot. We say I have a foot. We don't say am brain. You say I have a brain. Why do we do this? Well, because I is a movement. I have a hand, and then it moves. I have a foot, and then it moves. I can choose the ideas I have, and I can move my body in that direction. So now we're beginning to understand that the mind is a movement. The mind is energy, and it's thinking. And we can originate, and we can move this body wherever we desire. We truly can. So the brain is electronic switching station. If I say cat, dog, refrigerator, TV, you had, for every image I gave you, for every word I said, you had cells of recognition, and you started to flash on the screen of the mind. Bird, dog, TV, right? Paper, pen. For every word, you have understanding inside of your subconscious mind, and that allows you to tap into this subconscious mind. So every time I say a word, you have recognition, you have cells of recognition in that filing cabinet that's right there in your subconscious, and you retrieve it, and your conscious mind sees it. So here, this is the intro into the mind. We call this the stick person. Dr. Thurman Fleet gave us this image back in 1934. We needed order. We needed order on how to understand energy, how the mind works, so he drew this image. On the top half is the conscious mind, lower half, subconscious mind, and the bottom half is the body. And now we're going to begin to have new neural pathways. If some of you didn't know what the mind looks, now you've got an image to associate it with. So now every time I say the mind, you have a new image. Mm-hmm. Again, the brain is not the mind. Brain, electronic switching station. The mind is the movement. But this is how we can understand the movement and the correlation between mind and body, mind and brain, mind and hand. Conscious mind is your intellect. Subconscious mind is your programming. This is where you have a storehouse of information. You have this mass of information in the subconscious mind. In the subconscious mind is a filing cabinet, and in that filing cabinet is all of the information that started at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your subconscious mind was being filled with the information from the environment around you. Subconscious mind is the emotional mind. It cannot reject. It must accept. Cannot determine the difference between what is real and what is imagined. It just took in all of those ideas. From the age of 0 to 5, there was nothing in your subconscious mind. It was empty. So what was filled in that subconscious mind for every individual is different. Depending on the year you were born, the time you were born, the environment you were born around, the country you were born into, the family that you were raised in, what they did for a living. So everybody's subconscious is different, and it's all in according to everything that was happening around that child. The child had no ability to reject any of the ideas. It just accepted. Mm-hmm. So from 0 to 5, some say all the way up to 8, the subconscious is wide open and it just accepts. It accepts what's going on. Mm-hmm. But that becomes the base knowledge. That becomes the root. That becomes your starting point. We received an iPhone, and you guys are ready to upgrade that baby all the time. And you upgrade it because this thing is receiving information all the time, but if it cannot process that information, it kicks the information out. That's the way the mind is. Mm-hmm. If there's information that you're trying to go beyond, and there's no cells of recognition in your subconscious, your mind kicks it right out. That's why you miss ideas. That's why some people have better ideas than you. Ever thought about that? Why is it some people get better ideas? Why is it some people that get ideas do bigger things? Why is it that very few people do real big things?
Yeah.
Because they're tapping into a higher side of the personality and they're rewiring their subconscious. Or they're around people that were already doing big things. Why is it the majority of astronauts are family members that was passed down from the first astronaut? Why is it that doctors, they're normally, their families, parents, grandmothers were doctors? Because this is passed down. So what's getting passed down is their subconscious, their root knowledge. Mm-hmm. And whatever their habits and behaviors were, it gets passed on to the children. So what are we trying to say? We're trying to say that if you want to go beyond what you are, you have to be ready and willing to rewire who you are.
Yeah.
You got to be ready and willing to take on new information so that you can go beyond what you've seen in the past. And you got to be willing to step into the unknown, and that causes fear, doubt, and worry. And that's why majority of people fall back and they go back into conformity.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the ability. So we talked about how you have been conditioned to think a certain way. Abraham touched on that. Earlier I said the good news is you can change that. How can you change that? By understanding the conscious mind.
And now that's what you're going into, is the conscious mind.
Yeah. So the conscious mind is, your conscious mind has the ability to think. Your conscious mind is your educated mind. When you went to school, information that you've learned, your conscious mind is always, it's also your intellect. Your conscious mind, you can choose. Your conscious mind, you can accept and reject. And your conscious mind can originate the thoughts according to what you're thinking about. So what does that mean? That means I have the ability to think whatever that I want. But why, when I think of whatever that I want, I fall short when it comes to action or when it comes to pursuing it, when it comes to possibility of going after what I want. Because when I think automatically, when I think automatically, when I think about something, I can think, right? Before I think that whatever I'm thinking about, the idea will go to my subconscious mind. As you guys can see that file cabinet, the massive information that you've been conditioned to, it's going to be compared with that information. And that information determines, based off of your conditioning, determines whether what you want is possible or not. That's why a lot of people want more money, want better health, want better life, better conditioning, better relationship, right? But why they don't have it? Because when they want something
that's beyond what they know how to do,
beyond knowing how to do it goes and compares with their subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind immediately rejects it and says, "Hey, you're not programmed for this. We can't do this.
It's not possible for you.
It's not possible for you to do this unless you start impressing those ideas and you start really wanting to do it, really want to go after it."
And the only way to do that is desire's got to be bigger than your fear or your doubt and your worry.
Right. That want has to turn to a desire, and you got to get emotion involved with that idea. Mm-hmm. Right? The conscious mind, when you get emotion involved with the idea, you have a support. The conscious mind, as we touch on this other previous slide, it can originate, the last option, can originate thoughts. So if you start thinking about, I want to make this amount of money every month. I want to make $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month, right? When I start thinking about it and keep thinking about it and not letting my subconscious mind rejecting it, since I'm thinking about that, I'm going to start originating thoughts according to what I'm thinking. What does that mean? That means it's going to give you an idea. You're going to have ideas randomly during the day, before you go to bed, in restaurant, I don't know, on the weekend. You start having these ideas to support what you're thinking about, what your mind is occupied with. However, it can work on opposite as well. When you're negative and you start thinking about how something cannot be done and how something is not possible, your mind works the same way. It will originate the thoughts and it support you why something cannot be done. So it's up to who to decide whether something is possible or not.
As you begin to think, the center of your being, your conscious mind, begins to think. And this is the way energy works. This is the mind. Again, nobody ever seen the mind. We just see the manifestation and results out here in your physical world. You just see out here, 3D world, you see yourself out here, experiencing a physical reality. Experiencing a physical reality. Why? Because the mind is movement and the body is the instrument. The body is the instrument of the mind. So the body just does. The body moves. But the body can only do what you're emotionalizing with, what you're emotionally involved with. So the mind is a movement. It's unseen. You normally don't see beyond this point. Everything up here is 4D up. These right here are the senses. You can hear right now. You can hear me. You pick up information from these antennas. Hear, see. You can see me. You pick up information from the outside world. You see me. You hear me. This information comes in, and it hits this resonator. This thing activates and shoots out the images right here on the screen of the mind. Cat, dog, refrigerator, TV, horse. The reason you're able to pick up these flashes and bring them onto the screen of the mind, because you have cells of recognition in your filing cabinet. Now, what's so important, Taha was illustrating, that when you try to go beyond what you were programmed to do, that means if you don't know how to do it, if you were not born into it, and you never saw it growing up in your family, and you don't know how to do those things, and there's no cells of recognition in this filing cabinet, if I tell you, I want you guys to build a $1 billion company tomorrow, if y'all knew how to do it, y'all would have already done it. Am I right or wrong? The results will show that y'all know how to build a $1 billion company. Yes or no? And if you knew how to build a $1 billion company, you'd say, well, I wouldn't be here. Who agrees with that?
Correct.
Yeah.
We would, it's like you said, we wouldn't be sitting here listening to this right now. We'd be over there.
Yeah.
So what Abraham is saying is everyone's result today is not necessarily what is that they want, is what they know how to do. So your results, the way you're thinking, is equal to your results. And in order to change that result, we got to change your way of thinking. So when we understand that, that means that you might be making $50,000, $100,000 a year, right? You might be making $100,000 a year. It's not that you want $100,000. It's what you think you're able to do. That's why you're making what you're thinking. You're making what you're making. Otherwise, you wouldn't make something different, because your automatic is equal to the amount of money that you're making.
Yep. The person, an individual, they're making $50,000 a year. It's not that they can't do more. They don't know how to earn more. If somebody's earning $50,000 a year, they're earning $50,000 a year because they don't know how to make $100,000 a year. And for the individual that's making $100,000 a year, he's earning $100,000 a year because he doesn't know how to earn $100,000 a month. Would y'all agree? Mm-hmm. Some of y'all say, well, that's not real. That's not realistic. How many of you said that's not realistic?
Or how many say that I don't have the circumstance, or I don't have the opportunities, or I don't have the education? Or
when I just said you're earning $100,000 not because you can't do more, you're earning $100,000 a year because you don't know how to earn $100,000 a month. When I said that was like a mind trip for you. Who knows how to earn $100,000 a month?
I haven't earned it yet, but I'm going to.
Yep.
It just becomes more service, more sales.
There you go.
The more sales
you have to
make,
create a model
more,
to support that.
Correct. And I'll hit it. I'm going to hit it.
Yep. What I'm trying to get at is how many of you heard that idea and it doesn't sound realistic to you. It's sounding realistic to Angel. That's what he's saying. He thinks it's possible. He knows that the filing cabinet doesn't have that in there, but he says he's going to make it happen. It doesn't sound realistic because we weren't programmed to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some families that have done that or done more than that. Mm-hmm. And because they're raised around that family and those children are raised around those kids, guess what they have in their filing cabinet? I'd earn $100,000 a month. And guess what they're going to go and do? They're going to go build a model, or they're going to do something to earn that. Why is this important? Because this program is controlling your behavior. It controls, consciousness controls everything in your life. Let's look at what consciousness is. It is the way of life. Why consciousness? Consciousness is your life. Now let's look at this. It is what you have. It is where you are. It is how you work. It is what you do. It is how you act. It is what comes to you. It is what leaves you. The kind of friends and opportunities you attract, and the kind of problems you have, the kind of solutions you find. In fact, consciousness is the determining factor of every circumstance in your life, every experience, every condition in your life. It decides. What decides your future? Consciousness. So this mind is controlling everything. Consciousness. Wherever you are, whether you're successful or unsuccessful in whatever endeavor. Rich or poor, happy or sad, strong or weak, peaceful or discordant. For all are but expressions of consciousness. All are but expressions of consciousness. Life is a state of consciousness. So when we talk about the mind is a consciousness. And consciousness is controlling your behavior. Why does consciousness control your behavior? Because the beliefs are what was conditioned in this mindset. The belief sets up a chain of events. Your beliefs are hardwired, hardcored in you. Your beliefs set up your perception. Okay? From your perception comes your what? Behavior. Behavior causes what? Thoughts and actions. And then here, and all thoughts and action are equal and opposite. Here comes a reaction. So results are a product of an action, of a mind that was set, and a habit and behaviors, and almost all behavior is habitual. So then here falls you. You fall right in alignment, and we land right on target, right on plan where we are today. So we're teaching everyone the mind, and we're going to be working with you personally one-on-one. And it's a lot of information. We're not going to go through it all at one time because it's a process. We have been able to take individuals from where they are, whether I've seen somebody go from, it was $24,000 a year, 24K, to now earning over $3 million a year. Accident? They were earning $24,000 because they didn't have the consciousness at the time to earn $3 million. What changed? We had to work on their mindset. There's a lot of process in here. There's a time in here where this individual begins to act and do things they've never done before, and there's mechanisms that are triggered and causes that person and that person's same mind to go into fear, doubt, and worry, and then they self-sabotage themselves without even knowing it. Or they'll just go right back to conformity and they go back to what they know how to do. And they conform. How many people do you know around your life right now that have conformed to what they think is possible? Some of you are young. How many people do y'all know around you that are in their 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 80s, 90s that conformed to what they knew how to do? And they lived more or less on plan. How many people do you know like that? How many people do you know that took their annual income and made it a monthly income? Does anybody know anyone like that? We knew that that was going to be the response because we're not conditioned to see that. Even the people that we probably know, we probably don't know very many people. And if you do, it may be one or two. If. And you're even not too sure they've done that. That's not an accident. That's a program. And that's why we're doing this. We learned information in developing ourselves. And we learned by working on ourselves that there was a program. And we learned that there was a program deep rooted in our subconscious mind. And we've been going through this process. We wanted to go beyond that. We knew that there was limitless potential inside of each. Me and Todd have been working on this. And we had to do this work on ourselves. But at the same time, people's asking, what are y'all doing? How are y'all doing that? How did you go from where you are to where you're at? How are you accomplishing the things you have? People could no longer say we're lucky.
Yeah.
What are y'all doing different? Well, we're studying with people that do these things differently. When you really begin to understand that this is not common information, and that's why common people get common results, because they're studying the same information that all the common people study. And they do what all the common people do. And we're not common. We brought this information that's not common into our companies.
Yeah.
Because we're not common. I used to travel the world to meet very few uncommon people. They don't do what everybody does. And that's why they're earning millions and billions of dollars. They're not common. But they knew this information. And they studied this information. And they're within the 1 to 3%. 1 to 5%. Accident? No. We brought this information back so that we can improve our lives and improve the lives of the people that work in our companies.
Yeah.
And give everyone the opportunity. Nobody in these companies and all of our companies will ever have the opportunity to say that we were not willing to invest in our people. And that we did not give and share this information to everyone within our companies. They have chosen. If somebody has not taken advantage of this, it's because they have chosen not to. But we will give everyone equal opportunity to go beyond where they are and to go wherever they want to go. Taha and I said we had come to the agreement that we would never set a man's pay.
Yeah. Why? Because you said you don't pay, but what you do. Here, the reason we're introducing this is because we want you to, one, first know what is it that you want, what you want is possible, and what are you going to give in order to achieve what you want. So that's why I work with this few individual in our company. I ask them, hey, what is it that you want? They tell me how much is it they want, how much they want to take, because they want to provide for their family and they want to have a great quality of life, right? And that's great. But in order to receive that, you got to change your mindset, change you, and change the way you're thinking in order to receive that results. The result that you're having right now is not accident. It's the way you're thinking. In order to change that, you got to understand mind. You got to consent for us to work with you. You got to consent to be able to change, to allow the change happen. You got to let go of limited beliefs and let go of old you in order for new you to start creating new results. This is what we're going to do. Abraham and I are going to work with individuals here, and we are going to help you. First thing is, what is it that you want? And second, when you want that, what is it that you're going to give because it's always in giving. What you're giving is what you're receiving. And when you start giving and providing that much value equal to what you want to make, you start seeing different results. But you got to start change, and you got to change your mindset. We're here to help you. That's why we're introducing this program to you guys, and we're going to work with everyone individually to set goals and help them acquire the goal. It's our responsibility to help you reach your desire. There's no company that you go out and they tell you, hey, the owner sit in front of you and tell you, hey, my goal is to help you reach your goal. But
Or
here,
earn the amount of money you want.
yeah. But here, we don't set the pay. You decide what is it that you want to make and how much you want to earn. Let's take it that, not make. How much you want to earn according to the value that you provide. Anything else?
Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody has any questions?
When do we start?
It's already started. We have you on the list. We're going to roll out the.
Yeah, we had certain groups, and we're trying to get all the groups into this class just so that we can do this intro into the mind, and then we're going to start working with you 15, 20 minutes a week, each one individually. That's the reason we took out the planner. We got you guys to get on take a look at the journal, and we'll be working with each one of you individually to help hit your personal goals, personal and professional goals.
Awesome.
Anybody have any questions, thoughts, takeaways before we end?
All right, guys. Thank you. And have a wonderful day. We'll get back with you.
Thank you.